in a little slight study session with negotiable instruments. This is under UCC 3s. UCC 3s, but we come in here. Identification of person to whom instrument is payable, paid to the bearer. This is all coming from the Negotiable Instruments Act. I read the Negotiable Instruments Act. I'm pretty sure it's coming from there. Don't quote me on it. Excuse me. .310 Identification of person to whom instrument is payable. I can do it like that. A. The person to whom an instrument is initially payable is determined by the intent of the person, whether or not authorized, signing as, or in the name or behalf of the issuer of the instrument. The instrument is payable to the person intended by the signer, even if that person is identified in the instrument by a name or other identification that is not that of the intended person. If more than one person signs in the name or behalf of the issuer of an instrument and all the signers do not intend the same person as payee, the instrument is payable to any person intended by one or more of the signers. B. If the signature of the issuer of an instrument is made by automated means, such as check writing machine, the payee of the instrument is determined by the intent of the person who supplied the name or identification of the payee, whether or not authorized to do so. C. A person to whom an instrument is payable may be identified in any way, including by name, identifying number, office, or account number. Account number, identifying number, office, name. For the purpose of determining the holder of an instrument, the following rules apply. 1. If an instrument is payable to an account and the account is identified only by number, the instrument is payable to the person to whom the account is payable. If an instrument is payable to an account identified by number and by the name of a person, the instrument is payable to the named person, whether or not that person is the owner of the account identified by number. 2. If an instrument is payable to 1 or a trust, an estate, or a person described as trustee or representative of a trust or estate, the instrument is payable to the trustee, the representative, or the successor of either, whether or not the beneficiary or estate is also named. 2 or a person described as agent or similar representative of a named or identified person, the instrument is payable to the represented person. The representation or successor of the representative. 3, or I, a fund or organization that is not a legal entity. The instrument is payable to a representative of the members of the fund or organization, or excuse me, 4, or IV, an office, or to a person described as holding an office. The instrument is payable to the named person, the incumbent of the office, or the successor to the incumbent. D, if an instrument is payable to 2 or more persons, alternatively, it is payable to any of them and may be negotiated, discharged, or enforced by any or all of them in possession of the instrument. If an instrument is payable to 2 or more persons, not alternatively, it is payable to all of them and may be negotiated, discharged, or enforced only by all of them. Only by all of them. If an instrument payable to 2 or more persons is ambiguous as to whether it is payable to the persons, alternatively, the instrument is payable to the person alternatively. We're going to go to 309. 109, payable to the bearer or order. A promise or order is payable to the bearer if it, 1, states that it is payable to the bearer or to the order of bearer, or otherwise indicates that the person in possession of the promise or order is entitled to payment. And it brought me here. Definition of order means a written instrument to pay money signed by the person given the instrument. The instrument may be addressed to any person, including the person given the instrument, or to 1 or more persons jointly, or in the alternative, but not in succession. And authorization to pay is not in order unless the person authorized to pay is also instructed to pay. I should have just pressed. Okay. Didn't promise. 12. Promise means a written undertaking to pay money signed by the person undertaking to pay. An acknowledgement or an obligation by the obligor is not a promise unless the obligor also undertakes to pay the obligation. Means a written undertaking to pay money signed by the person undertaking to pay. An acknowledgement of an obligation by the obligor. It's not a promise unless the obligor also undertakes to pay the obligation. So, A, a promise or order is payable to bearer if it, one, states that it is payable to bearer or to the order of bearer, or otherwise indicates that the person in possession of the promise or order is entitled to payment. Two, does not state a payee. Or three, states that it is payable to or to the order of cash, or otherwise indicates that it is not payable to an identified person. B, a promise or order that is not payable to bearer is payable to order if it is payable I to the order of an identified person, or II, or two to an identified person or order. A promise or order that is payable to order is payable to the identified person. C, an instrument payable to bearer may become payable to identified person if it is specifically endorsed pursuant to Section 3205A. An instrument payable to an identified person may also payable to bearer if it is endorsed in blank pursuant to Section 3205B. Mm. 205A and 205B. All right. This is 3205 special endorsement, blank endorsement, anonymous endorsement. B, if an instrument is made by the holder of an instrument, whether payable to an identified person or payable to bearer, an endorsement identifies a person to whom it make the instrument payable. It is a special endorsement. When specially endorsed, an instrument becomes payable to the identified person and may be negotiated only by the endorsement of that person. The principle stated in Section 31010 apply to special endorsements. B, if an instrument is made by the holder of an instrument and it is not a special endorsement, it is a blank endorsement. When endorsed in blank, an instrument becomes payable to bearer and may be negotiated by transfer of possession alone until specially endorsed. C, the holder may convert a blank endorsement that consists only of a signature into a special endorsement by writing above the signature of the endorser words identifying the person to whom the instrument is made payable. D, anonymous endorsement means an endorsement made by a person who is not the holder of the instrument. An anonymous endorsement does not affect the manner in which the instrument may be negotiated. Okay. I really want to see this one too. So this is 3. 206, restrictive endorsement. Restrictive endorsement, right? Come on, my little device is moving slow. Yes, I know. This is 206, restrictive endorsement. An endorsement limiting payment to a particular person or otherwise prohibiting further transfer or negotiation of the instrument is not effective to prevent further transfer or negotiation of the instrument. B. An endorsement stating a condition to the right of the endorsee to receive payment does not affect the right of the endorsee to enforce the instrument. A person paying the instrument or taking it for value or collection may discharge the condition, and the rights and liabilities of that person are not affected by whether the condition has been fulfilled. C. If an instrument bears an endorsement, I, or 1, describes in section 4201B, or II, or 2, in blank, or to a particular bank using the words for deposit, for collection, or other words indicating a purpose of having the instrument collected by a bank for the endorser or for a particular account. The following rules apply. 4201B. So this is 4201. We were supposed to go to B, but 4201. Status of collecting bank as agent and provisional status of credits applicable of article item endorse pay any bank. After an item has been endorsed with the words pay any bank or the like, only a bank may require the rights of a holder until the item has been 1. Returned to the customer, initiating collection, or 2. Specially endorsed by a bank to a person who is not a bank. So if an instrument bears an endorsement, I described in section 4201B, and II or 2 in blank, or to a particular bank using the word for deposit, for collection, or other words indicating a purpose of having the instrument collected by a bank for the endorser or for a particular account. The following rules apply. You mean like this? Paid to the order of any bank, banker, or trust company. Prior endorsement guaranteed. You mean like that? Or, you know what I'm saying, like this. Whenever it says, I didn't see them like this, you know? Where it says, credited to the account of, man, that too? Or it might say, Paid to the order of. And look at all those. Some of them say for deposit. Some of them say credited to. And these are some old checks. Old checks. But trying to find one that say what it said there to be deposited. Because I didn't seen a lot of them. It say deposit only. Some of them. See right there. It says paid to the order of, and then it says for deposit only. So that's all right. If an instrument bears an endorsement I describes in section 4201B or 2 in blank, or to a particular bank using the words for deposit, for collection, or other words indicating a purpose of having the instrument collected by a bank for the endorser or for a particular account, the following rules apply. 1. A person other than a bank who purchases the instrument when so endorsed converts the instrument unless the amount paid for the instrument is received by the endorser or applied consistently with the endorsement. 2. A depository bank that purchases the instrument or takes it for collection when so endorsed converts the instrument unless the amount paid by the bank with respect to the instrument is received by the endorser or applied consistently with the endorsement. 3. A payer bank that is also the depository bank or that takes the instrument for immediate payment over the counter from a person other than a collecting bank converts the instrument unless the proceeds of the instrument are received by the endorser or applied consistently with the endorsement. 4. Except as otherwise provided in paragraph 3, a prior bank or intermediary bank may disregard the endorsement and is not liable if the proceeds of the instrument are not received by the endorser or applied consistently with the endorsement. D. Except for an endorsement covered by subsection C, if an instrument bears an endorsement using words to the effect that payment is to be made to the endorsee as agent, trustee, or other fiduciary for the benefit of the endorser or another person, the following rules apply. 1. Unless there is a notice of breach of fiduciary duty as provided in section 307, a person who purchases the instrument from the endorsee or takes the instrument from the endorsee for collection or payment may pay the proceeds of payment or the value given for the instrument to the endorsee without regard to whether the endorsee violates a fiduciary duty to the endorser. 2. A subsequent transferee of the instrument or a person who pays the instrument is neither giving notice nor otherwise affected by the restriction of the endorsement, unless the transferee or payor knows that the fiduciary dealt with the instrument or its proceeds in breach of fiduciary duty. E, the presence on an instrument of an endorsement to which this section applies does not prevent the purchaser of the instrument from becoming a holder in due course of the instrument unless the purchaser is a converter under section C or has notice or no knowledge of breach of fiduciary duty as stated in subsection D. E, F, in an action to enforce the obligation of a party to pay the instrument, the obligor has a defense if payment would violate an endorsement to which this section applies and the payment is not permitted by this section. Now let's go back where we was. Time to light up the blizzy. All right. Now we was where? Okay, we read all of those. Come back. Lighter. Okay. And it says C, an instrument payer to bearer may become payable to an identified person if it is specially endorsed pursuant to section 32058. An instrument payable to an identified person may become payable to bearer if it is endorsed in blank pursuant to section 3205B. Now let's come here and look at these definitions. Nope, not right now. So I'm gonna come back right here because I think I seen it here. I'm good. I know. Yeah. Let's go to these definitions. Three 103 definitions. Should have did this first though. Get your definitions first. A, in this article, acceptor means a drawee who has accepted a draft. Drawee means a person ordered in a draft to make payment. Consumer account too, excuse me. And that's exactly what you want to make, a consumer transaction. Consumer account means an account established by an individual primarily for personal, family, or household purposes. 3, consumer transaction means a transaction in which an individual incurs an obligation primarily for personal, family, or household purposes. 4, drawee means a person ordered in a draft to make payment. 5, drawer means a person who signs or is identified in a draft as a person ordering payment. 6, reserved. 7, maker means a person who signs or is identified in a note as a person undertaking to pay. That's it, a maker? Note. See what a note is. Keep going back to that. So what is a note? An instrument is a note. Wow. So drafts, checks, cashier's checks, teller's checks, traveler's checks, certificate of deposits, birth certificates. Damn. Man, they set it all up for us. So a maker, can you just make these things? Means a person who signs or is identified in a note as a person undertaking to pay. A order means a written instruction, to pay money, signed by the person giving the instrument. The instrument may be addressed to any person, including the person giving the instrument. Oh, the instruction. Damn, I'm gonna redact that, go all the way back. Order means a written instruction to pay money signed by the person giving the instruction. The instruction may be addressed to any person, including the person giving the instruction. So if you, the maker, and you write it back to yourself, hold up. Any person, including the person giving the instrument. What? Or you could give it right back to the person that, man, or to one or more persons jointly, or in the alternative, but not in succession. An authorization to pay is not an order unless the person authorized to pay is also instructed to pay. 9. Ordinary care. In the case of a person engaged in business, means observance of reasonable commercial standards prevailing in the area in which the person is located with respect to the business in which the person is engaged. In the case of a bank that takes an instrument for processing for collection or payment by automated means, reasonable commercial standards do not require the bank to examine the instrument if the failure to examine does not violate the bank's prescribed procedures, and the bank's procedures do not vary unreasonably for general banking usage not disapproved by this article or Article 4. Party means a party to an instrument. Man, so the whole time they giving us these little instrument, party, in-law, negotiable instruments, how to get your remedy, freedom. Principal obligor. So we're about to endorse instruments payable to the bank, and we're gonna party with different parties. You can make it payable to any person, and persons jointly. So like you and your offspring, you and your wife, man, what's going on? Principal obligor with respect to an instrument means the accommodated party or any other party to the instrument against whom a secondary obligor has recourse under this article, meaning has recourse. They can come back. Recourse. They can come back to claim their right. 12. Promise. means a written undertaking to pay money signed by the person undertaking to pay. An acknowledgement of an obligation by the obligor is not a promise unless the obligor also undertakes to pay the obligation. 13. Prove. With respect to the fact means to meet the burden of establishing the fact. See section 1201 B8. 14. Reserve. 15. Remitter. Man, I want to be a remitter. Means a person who purchases an instrument. What? From its issuer if the instrument is payable to an identified person other than the purchaser. What? 16. Remotely created consumer item. What is that? I'm so curious. Means an item drawn on a consumer account, which is created by the payer bank and does not bear in handwriting signature purporting to be the signature of the drawer. Means an item drawn on a consumer account, which is not created by the payer bank and does not bear in handwritten signature purporting to be the signature of the drawer. 17. Secondary obligor with respect to an instrument means A, an endorser or an accommodation party. B, a drawer having the obligation described in section 3, 414B, or C, any other party to the instrument that has recourse against another party to the instrument pursuant to section 3, 116B. B. Other definitions applying to this article and the section in which they appears are, and I'm not going to get into it, acceptance. You would want to know what it is acceptance and how to accept it. Accommodating party, accommodation party, account alteration, anonymous endorsement, blank endorsement, cashier's checks, certificate of deposit, certified check consideration, draft holder in due course, and complete instrument, endorsement, endorser, instrument, issuer, issuer, negotiable instrument, negotiation, note, payable at a definite time, pay on demand, pay to the bearer, pay to the order, payment, person entitled to enforce, presentment, acquisition, special endorsement, teller's check, transfer of instrument, traveler's check, value. C. The following definitions in another article apply to this article. Banking date, clearinghouse, collecting bank, depository bank, documentary draft, intermediary bank, item, payer bank, spended payment. In addition, Article 1 contains general definitions and principles of construction and interpretation applicable throughout this article. Okay, and we definitely need to go here. UCC 3 501. Not no 501c3. So right here. A 508. Anyway, 105, issue of instrument. Man, I love these instruments. I just want to make me some music. Sweet music every day. With these instruments I don't play. Negotiable instruments I say hey. They used to call me Jay. Hey, issue means the first delivery of an instrument by the maker or drawer, whether to a holder or a non-holder for the purpose of giving rights on the instrument to any person. What? Man, who's a maker and who's a drawer? What? The maker means a person who signs or is identified in a note as a person undertaking to pay. A person who signs or is identified in a note as a person undertaking to pay. And what the other one was? Drawer means a person who signs or is identified in a draft as a person ordering payment. So that'll mean like, you know what I'm saying? That's what we call the creditor. That'll be like, man, I'm going to T-Mobile. The sales rep or whoever draws up the instrument, meaning, you know, he went in the back and he made this contract with all these numbers in it, and the contract would be called the instrument, and the one that made it, especially whenever he put his signature on it, if he put his signature on it, is that a bill of exchange like that? That'll be the person that made it would be the drawer or the maker. What? And what it say we could do? So it says the issue means the first delivery. What they taught us in school, an issue. Man, you have an issue, but what you were speaking goo goo gaga like little baby stuff. Issue means the first delivery of an instrument by the maker or drawer, whether to a holder or non-holder for the purpose of giving rights on the instrument to any person. They handing it to you like, here, man. Now you know, it's your rights. You know, you can make it payable to anybody. You can do whatever you want with it. You can pay it to yourself. You can pay it to your mother. You can pay it back to me. Anyway, B, an unissued instrument or an unissued incomplete instrument that is complete is binding on the maker or drawer. But non-issuance is a defense. An instrument that is conditionally issued or is issued for a special purpose is binding on the maker or drawer. But failure of the condition or special purpose to be fulfilled is a defense. This one needs to be dissected. We're going to come right back. C, issuer. Who is the issuer? Applies to issued or unissued instruments and means a maker or drawer of an instrument. Issuer, the person that handed you that contract and say, man, T-Mobile just approved you. Boo, 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 boo. Went draw up this thing. But it says you have to put down the down payment. What down payment? Excuse me. B, an unissued instrument or an unissued incomplete instrument. Where's my lighter? I'm going to pause it right quick. I have a phone call.